ladies, thank you for joining me for this gentle yoga flow class. We're going to work on our mobility and just the range of motion in our joints, making them feel a little more lubricated, a little easier to move around today. You don't have to have any props, but you might like the following things. Strap might be handy if you like to have one to catch your foot behind you. We'll be doing some quadricep stretches that might be nice for. A blanket or towel that you can fold up to support you might be nice. And the other thing that you might like, especially if folding forward and touching the floor in the morning especially is not possible for you, would be a block or two or a couple of books that you can put your hands on. We're actually going to start this class standing up, so you'll want to just clear your props out to the side and come to stand at the front of your mat. As you come to stand up there, spread your toes wide. Move your shoulders around a little bit, move your knees around a little bit. Find a place to stand that feels quite stable. I don't really care if your feet are parallel or they're hip distance, whatever feels strong to you. And when you find that place, close your eyes. Let your hands be heavy by your sides. And just feel your mat underneath your feet. Feel the sturdiness of your floor underneath your mat. The sturdiness of the earth underneath that. So that your awareness is just traveling down through your legs, through your feet, through the mat, through the floor, through the earth. You feel stable and supported. Now bring your hands onto your rib cage, one onto the front of your rib cage, kind of your solar plexus area, and one onto the back. You can place the back of your hand here on your back and the palm of your hand on your front. If that's not quite possible, just do the best that you can. We're just trying to bring awareness to the back. If your shoulders are too tight, you can go onto a side. That's completely fine. From here, breathe deeply in. Feel your ribs expanding, not just forward and to the side, but also through the back. Exhale, feel all your muscles gently drawing in. We're going to stay here and breathe for a few moments, working to find an ujjayi breath, an audible breath. Contracting the back of your throat as you breathe in. And out. Finding that gentle sound like a wave on the ocean. Continuing to let your awareness travel down through your feet, even as you leave some attention in the diaphragm, in the rib cage, in the breath. Nice. Inhale, blink your eyes open. Release your hands once again down by the sides, maybe flexing your fingers, curling them in and out. And then on an inhale, you're going to reach just your right arm up, palm faces towards the inside, towards your head. Reach up again as you breathe a little more into that inhale. And as you exhale, just lean a little bit over to the left, sliding your left hand down the outside of your left leg. Just go until you feel some opening along the right side of your body. You can look up towards your right palm if that feels good. Spend another breath here, relaxing your left shoulder. Inhale, come back to the center line. As you exhale, you're going to take your right hand, turn the palm to face now outwards towards the outside edge of the mat, and slide it behind you. As you do that, you're going to open up your left arm, palm also faces towards the right. So you're going to twist towards the right side of your mat. Keep your feet glued down and just go as far back as you can. You're working towards arms parallel to the long edge of the mat. Your gaze can be anywhere. Inhale here. Stretch your fingers out. As you exhale, bring both of your hands down, twist back to the center line. Inhale, lift just your left arm up, palm faces in. Inhale a little bit more at the top, really fill up with air. And then exhale, lean to the right, sliding the right hand down the right thigh, maybe looking up if that feels good. Just spend a few breaths here, feeling the side of the body. Deep inhale as you come back to the center line. As you exhale, you start to rotate that left palm to face now to the outer edge of the mat, sweeping it back at the same time, opening your right palm to face the long edge of the mat, twisting to your left. Just as far as you need to feel the stretch. Holding here for a breath or two. Reaching your fingertips out as if you were trying to touch the walls on either side of you. You inhale, come back to the center line, releasing both of your arms down. As you exhale, relax your shoulders. Inhale, reach your arms up. As you exhale, glue your palms together, stick your bum out behind you, and start to fold forward. This first time, you might just like to rest your forearms on your thighs. And of course, if you're already ready, you can go deeper, resting your hands onto a prop or even all the way to the floor. You want to feel your spine elongating that is not yet above the backs of your legs. So keep your knees quite deeply bent. Tuck your belly button away a little bit. So there's a little bit of lift of your lower back towards the ceiling. And then let your head start to be heavy. I'm going to stay here for a few breaths. You may find that as you stay, you can go a little deeper. So at any point, feel free to change this up. I'm starting with my forearms on my thighs. My back is quite tender this morning, and it's nice to have that support. See if you can come back to your Ujjayi breath. Slow and steady. Shoulders soft, allowing the spine to just gently begin to lengthen. One more deep breath here. Press your hands with your next inhale into the floor, into your prop, or into your thighs, and lift up about halfway. Feel free to straighten your legs a little more as you extend the crown of your head forward. As you exhale, come back, releasing your fingertips to the floor, or highly recommended, a support of a block or some books here. Heel toe your feet outwards. So they're about mat distance apart. Toes could be off the edges of the mat as they face outwards. Heels are in. And then start to bend your knees, walk your hands up to your thighs, coming to a bit of a horse squat. So it's not particularly low here. As you drop your bum back, roll up a little bit, straighten. If you can release your hands from your thighs and bring them in front of your heart if that's a little too much. Keep the hands on the thighs. Sit back a little deeper. Breathe 3 deep breaths here. Feel your tailbone sinking closer to the earth with each breath out. With the fourth inhale, when it comes, you're going to reach your arms up, straighten your legs, turn your feet more or less parallel. They might come off the edges of your mat. That's completely fine. Reach up again, fill up completely on that inhale, and then as you exhale, fold forward, bend your knees. Again, your hands, forearms to the thighs doesn't work so great here, but hands can come to the thighs, hands to a prop, or hands can come all the way to the floor. And then we'll create little waves in our spine. So as you inhale, lift up through the pit of your belly, roll yourself forward. Feel free to straighten your legs as you come to a little bit of a half lift. This could be anywhere with the hands on the legs or the floor or the block. And then as you exhale, fold back down. Repeat that twice more. Inhale, wave up from the pit of your belly. Legs could grow straight. Exhale, soften back. Knees should definitely be bent. Last one. Wave yourself halfway up, plant your fingertips to the floor or your hands to a prop, turn your toes again out and your heels in, and come back to that squat. And it could be the same kind of horse-style squat, now focusing on lowering the hips. Maybe you come a little bit lower into that squat. If it's possible for you, you could come hips between the heels. Go to the space where you start to feel your glutes getting a little bit of a stretch. Let your hands rest wherever you need to do so. Again, we'll stay for 3 deep breaths. Imagine lifting up through the arches of your feet here so that maybe you get a little bit of work in your inner thighs. With the fourth breath, release your hands to the legs or to your prop or to the floor and start to lift up, straightening the legs. Now you'll heel toe the feet back into a comfortable distance for you, facing towards the short edge of the mat. Fold forward again, softening the knees. Exhale. Inhale, lift up halfway, maybe letting the legs come a little bit straighter. Exhale, fold. Make sure your knees are a little bit soft. Start to let your arms grow really, 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 really heavy. And then slowly, sitting back towards the back of the mat a little bit with the knees. Articulate, lift through the pit of your belly. So your lower vertebrae are actually moving first here. You're tucking your tailbone down. You're rolling up through your spine. Feel free to walk your hands on your legs for more support. When you do reach standing, roll your shoulders back. Take a deep breath. Inhale, slide your arms up over your head. Both palms face in. Look up and notice how far away from each other your palms are. You're going to try to maintain that. As with the next exhale, you lean a little bit to your right, stretching the left side of your body. You can look up to make sure your hands are maintaining that closeness. Makes it a little bit more challenging. Inhale, come to the center. Exhale, go to the other side. Really reach with your right fingertips. And inhale to the center. Glue your palms together. Exhale to fold. Inhale to lift up halfway. Peel from the pit of your belly forward. Exhale, plant your hands. You're going to step one foot back and drop the knee. Step the other foot back and drop the knee. Walking your hands back towards a table pose. Inhale, soften, roll the shoulders back, lift the gaze, find a cow pose. Exhale, tuck your tailbone down, tuck your gaze down, lift your belly up, cat pose. Flow through a few more of those at your own pace. Last set. Cow. And cat. Inhale inhale, forward, back to that table. Take your knees a little wider now than your hips. Pull your hips back towards your heels. Crawl your fingertips forward for a rather active child's pose. If having the hips back towards the heels is a little too much for any part of your body, feel free to prop up with a blanket underneath your ankles or between your hips and your thighs, or support underneath your knees so that you feel comfortable here. Keep crawling those fingertips forward. Press each of the fingertips into the mat. Lift the palms of the hands a little bit so you feel a gentle stretch through the armpits. And here, you're going to lift up a little bit your forehead. Walk your fingertips over to the right, coming back to that side stretch. You can simply place the hands a little further over to the left as you drop the forehead, or you can place the left hand on top of the right hand, maybe even interlacing the fingers, holding hands with yourself. As you're ready, you're going to walk your fingertips back to the center line and over to the other side. Again, you could place the hands wherever you like, or you could lace the right fingertips into the left fingertips, deepening the stretch along the upper body on the right side. Walk the fingertips back in. You can stay in child's pose for the next one, or you can always do this lying flat on your belly. You're going to lift up your forehead a little bit, thread your right arm underneath your left armpit, looking underneath. If that doesn't feel good, you need a break for your knees, feel free to lie flat on your belly and do that same threading motion. I like to even rest my forehead on my left arm if I'm on my belly. I feel like it gives a little more support. Whichever variation works for you. Soften your left shoulder down towards the mat. On an inhale, you can unwind and take the other side. On the exhale, left arm underneath the right armpit. On the inhale, unthread. Crawl yourself forward again. Imagine articulating from the base of your spine, so lifting your belly first to help support you forward, and that's kind of like your spine unfurls as you come forward. Bring your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Shrug your shoulders back. Tuck your right set of toes under. Reach your right foot behind you. Focus on lifting that right hip up, and when you feel some engagement at the back of your right thigh, lift your right leg up. Keep shrugging your shoulders back. Find some activity in the pit of your belly, so you're lifting up here so the low back feels supported, and then bend your right knee. We're just going to draw some circles. So you're going to draw the right knee forward, out to the side, and back. Do two more like that. Forward, out to the side, and back. And I didn't mention this, but of course you could always be cushioning your left knee with a blanket. Last one round, we're going to go the other direction. We're going to go out to the side with the right knee, into the center, and back. As you do this, you have two more. You try and keep your left hip as stable as possible. One more. And now here you're going to keep that right leg out to the side. You're going to see if you can swing it forward, placing it to the outside of your right hand. Don't worry if you have to kind of finagle it there. That's completely fine. Now bring yourself onto your fingertips or grab a prop and lift the center of your chest as perhaps you draw your left hip forward, coming into a little bit of a lizard pose. Relax your shoulders here. Go just as far forward with your hips as feels comfortable. Maybe a little bit of an opening at the front of the left hip. Keep your shoulders rolling back and your chest lifted, though. That's more important than taking the hips forward. If you need to be up here or even hands on the thigh, that's completely fine. I want you to feel a little bit of space at the front of your body so you're not hunching forward. Let's take another breath here. And then start to pull your hips back. Place your hands down. You're going to attempt to take your right leg back the same way that you brought it in. So you're going to lift up onto your tippy toes. See if you can sweep that leg back kind of in a big arc and then bring the knee down. Pull your hips back now. Or again, articulating through the pit of the belly. Back into now a close-kneed child's pose. You can rest your forearms on the floor and even fold your arms in to create a cushion for your head. Take a deep breath. Bring your hands forward. Now what you're going to do is imagine coming through kind of a little snake spine. So you stay really low here. Your forearms are on the floor. Your chest is as close to the floor as possible. And as you start to move forward, your elbows will peel up and you'll end up in this cow pose. Shoulders move back. Exhale, come through cat. Inhale, come to neutral. Tuck your left set of toes under. Reach your left foot back. And again, you want to lift your left hip a little bit, activate the back of your left leg. So when your leg feels strong, then you activate your core and you lift your core a little bit. And when your core feels strong, then you lift this left leg. So everything is working in concert. And then bend the left knee. Now we're going to draw 3 circles. First, drawing the knee in, out to the side, and back up. And you'll feel the back of your left leg. You'll feel your outer right hip as you do this. You'll feel some core work. And what we're just doing is building functional mobility. Now going the other direction, out to the side, into the center, and back. Mobility that is kind of supported by some strength. Last one, you can take that knee out to the side and see if you can step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. And you may have to kind of lift up and you may have to step in and wiggle out or vice versa. Don't worry how you get there. Just make your way there in the way that works for you. Maybe you're ready to take your hips a little forward and lift up. Maybe you need more or less support than I do. See what feels good. You're opening the front of the body. You're rolling the shoulders back. Feel free to come quite a bit higher or quite a bit lower with your front hip. Do what feels nice to you. As you're here, extending forward, it's not that you're kind of collapsing forward. There's still some engagement. Your belly is lifting. As you bring your hip forward and you lift up, there's a lot of engagement of your back muscles here. It's not just stretching. It's flexibility and strength. All right, you're going to take your hips gently back. Place your hands down. You're going to attempt to draw that left leg back just the same way. So I like to lift up onto my tippy toes first. For some reason, I find that's easier. And then slide the foot back out in that big arc of a circle and back down. Once the knee is next to the other knee, ripple through your spine, pulling back into that child's pose. Feel free to rest your head on your forearms as you take a deep, full breath. And then we're going to do that funky little snaky cow pose. Lifting your forehead, stay as low as you can. Low, 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 low. Peel your elbows up. Lift the center of your chest, cow pose. Exhale. Tuck your tailbone, lift your belly, cat pose. Inhale, back to neutral. Now tuck your toes under. Push back through the arches of your feet. Lift to downward facing dog. And as you come to downward facing dog, feel free for this first one to take any movements that feel nice. You can pedal your feet, you can sway your hips, you can bend your knees, you could make your hands wider apart, or even turn your fingers gently outwards. Often for my first few downward facing dogs, I like to offset my hands a little bit. Feels really nice for my wrists. Take a few deep breaths here. Just really slowly building up into a sun salutation and all of the movements that that brings to our body. Let's take another breath here. And then release release your knees back to the floor on your exhale. Your hands will be again facing straight forward and back. If you move them out, you're back in that table pose with your toes tucked under. Inhale, find your cow pose. Exhale, find your cat pose. Inhale, find your cow pose. Exhale, find your cat pose. We'll do one more. Cow stays the same. On the cat pose, if you'd like to add on a little bit, as you start to round up through your spine, press really firmly through all 10 of your fingertips, press through your toes. Maybe you can hover your knees. And then inhale back through your cow. As you exhale, come to neutral. Float your right foot behind you. Now, imagine that as you're floating your foot back, you're getting that lift of your hip. You're getting that activation of your belly. You can do this several times until you feel like as you extend the leg behind you, you're also strengthening the whole core, the front of the belly, the front of the hip, the back of the thigh. Once you're there again, bend your right knee as you inhale. As you exhale, you're going to take your right knee out towards your right elbow and step your right foot to the outside of your left hand. This time, walk your right foot in. You'll have to pick up your right hand so that it's more or less underneath your shoulder. Plant your fingertips to frame your right foot. Tuck your back set of toes under again if they're not already there, and lift your back knee. So you're in a pyramid pose. Well, actually, you're in a lunge pose. You're coming to a pyramid pose. Kind of gave away what's coming next. You may like to have a block. If you have two blocks, you can frame your front foot. I just have one today, so I'm going to place it on the inside. In your lunge, bring your front knee over your front ankle, shrug your shoulders back, feel some space at the front of your body, maintain that space as you begin to straighten your right leg a little bit. Find a stretch. If you're flexible enough, you can bring your hands towards the floor or closer down. Feel free to drop your back heel down, more of a traditional pyramid pose, or to keep the back heel lifted. Keep shrugging your shoulders back, and even as you come forward over this front thigh, keep the length at the front of your body. Again, there's not a hunching, collapsing sensation here. There's a lengthening sensation in your spine. Let's take another breath. And then what you're going to do is bring your right knee forward. So it's over the right ankle, again, back where you started. Bring your left knee back to the floor. We're coming back through our table pose. Hands frame the front foot. Now, you can go straight back. That might feel possible. It's sometimes a little easier to, again, wiggle your right foot out to the right. So now it's on the outside of the right pinky finger, and lift up and do that big circle. It's also really nice for hip mobility, so you can pick which one. Place your right knee down, untuck your toes, articulate your spine back to this close-in child's pose. Forearms are on the floor. With the forearms on the floor, you're going to snake forward, chest stays low, 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 low until the elbows lift up. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. We're going to do one more. Cow stays the same. If you'd like, you can tuck your toes under as you inhale. And as you exhale through cat, you are welcome to try lifting your knees again. Just a little bit more activity. Inhale back through cow. Exhale to neutral. Again, we're going to work to lift the leg, left leg this time. So reach it out. And as you do, you're already extending that leg behind. Well, you're extending that leg behind you, but at the same time, you're already lifting the left hip. You're strengthening the hamstrings, and you're strengthening the belly. So you end up strong. You bend your knee. You take your knee to the outside of your elbow, not your elbow to the outside of your knee. And then you step the foot. Lift your left hand. Heel toe that right foot in. Set the fingertips down. Untuck, or tuck, excuse me. Don't untuck. Retuck the right toes. Lift the right knee. You're in your lunge. If you're quite flexy, you don't need a block. Fine. If you'd like a block or two, place them. Shrug your shoulders back. Elongate your spine. And then start to straighten your left leg. And depending on how you're feeling today, you may or may not get to a straight position with that front leg. It doesn't really matter. I just want you to feel some stretching here. And you may also feel some stuff in your back as you bring your hips back and you lengthen your spine forward as opposed to collapsing. There's some really nice stuff that can happen here in the lower back. We'll stay for a few breaths. And keep keeping my back heel lifted today because that just feels really nice. I'm getting some nice action as I press my back heel a little towards the floor around my Achilles tendon, but you're welcome to drop that heel down if that feels more stable. The primary focus is that front leg. Keep lengthening. Inhale, bend your front knee over your front ankle. Exhale, bring your back knee to the floor. Move back towards your table pose. Again, you could go with that left knee straight back, or you could go again to the outside edge of your left pinky, widening up, and then go into that big circle, articulating the hip. Place the left knee next to the right knee. Round back, child's pose with the knees close together and the elbows on the floor. Setting up for this snaky spine. It's like a variation of a cobra pose almost, because you're slinking forward. And then peeling your elbows up. Lifting your gaze, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. If you want to tuck your toes under and take that slightly more vigorous cat, feel more than free. Lifting your knees a little bit, activating your core. One last cow pose. And then exhale to neutral. Tuck your toes under if they're not already there. Lift your knees, come back to your downward facing dog. Feel free to pedal your feet again or sway. Maybe adjust the distance between your hands. And you don't have to do that in your dog. You can always drop your knees down and do that in your table. I'm an often impatient yogi, and so I kind of just like rock from one side to the other and widen my hands out. But if your shoulders are not feeling super flexible or strong, you can always drop your knees to the floor to accomplish that same end, and then come back up. All right, from here, you can stay in your downward facing dog, or you could take this next one from your table. Doesn't matter, your choice. Lift your right leg up again to the sky. Inhale. As you exhale, you're going to step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Leave your back knee lifted, or lift your back knee up if you came from the table position. Wiggle that right foot inside, so now it's on the thumb side of your right hand. Look over towards your left hand. The right hand will stay grounded either to the floor or to a block on the outside of your right foot. Turn your left toes to the long edge of your mat. Your right knee is right over your right ankle. Draw a big rainbow with your left hand and let that lift you up to your warrior two. Reach out for your fingertips as you settle down into that front leg. Front knee over front ankle. Turn your right palm up. Inhale. Lean a little bit forwards. Reach. Exhale. Lean back. Reverse your warrior. Find that side bend again. Soften your left shoulder. Inhale, back to the center line. Arms parallel to the floor. As you exhale, straighten your right leg. Take your hips back and reach again on your inhale forward. Exhale to fold. You could bring your right hand to your thigh, your calf, your block, or you can reach towards the floor, whatever feels good to you. Lift your left arm up to the sky. Triangle pose. Again, you're working for length in your torso, so you're not collapsing forwards in an effort to get closer to the floor. You're lifting your torso, elongating it forward, parallel-ish, as close to parallel as you're feeling like you can get today, to the earth. It's not that your spine is curving downwards, your spine is reaching forwards as your leg moves its way back. Instead of hunching and like kind of locking up our joints, we're elongating from our joint points, creating space there. Take another deep breath. And then you're going to take your left hand, your top arm, and you're going to fold it down. You're going to rotate on that back foot, taking it straight forward and straight back. And you're going to drop your left knee to the floor. Right knee goes back. You can go straight back, or again, you can wiggle that right foot to the outside of the right hand and lengthen back. You should be slightly elongated in your table pose. You might need to elongate a little more, walking your hands even a little more forward, so you can slide your shoulders over your wrist to a low plank. Elbows back as you inhale. Exhale, lower to the floor. Now, just like you did in that snaky child's pose, but this time you're going to untuck your toes, press them down. You're going to lift your spine forward. Little cobra pose. As you exhale, lower down, lift through the pit of your belly, scoop back towards child's pose. You'll be a little bit more elongated this time. Take a deep breath there. Inhale to come forward. You can let your hands slide a little in. Tuck your toes under. We're going to go back to our downward facing dog. Spread your hands as wide as you like. Move in any way that feels nice. If your shoulders are starting to feel a little more open with slightly wide hands, I think this is best, but anything shoulder distance or wider, it's fine. Soften your knees, lift your hips up and back. You'll already start to feel a stretch in your arms. You can stay there, or you might like to just gently bounce your chest a few times. Really stretching the arms. All right. Find a more neutral downward facing dog where you feel stable, or return to your table. Lift your left foot, inhale. Exhale, take your left knee a little bit out, step the foot to the outside of the hand, and then lift the left hand and wiggle that foot in. We're going to go towards our pyramid pose, so using a block or two if you would like. Lift yourself up a little bit and begin to straighten your left leg. And straighten or towards straight, not necessarily straight. Some legs like to be straight, some legs do not. Some legs like to be straight some days, but not others. I feel like I'm writing a Dr. Seuss. Some days, some legs like straight. Some days, some legs don't like straight. Find what feels good. Feel free to adjust the angle of your back heel up or down. And you don't have to be static. I'm kind of like bouncing just a teensy bit here. So my front knee is almost straight, but there's just a little bit of give, so I can move a little bit forward and back. Just kind of almost gently soothing and rocking my hip into a little more flexibility. All right, bend that front knee. You're back in that lunge position. You're going to take your left hand to the outside of your left foot, planting it down on a block or on the floor. Your right hand can kind of rest on the floor to start off with. Look over to your right fingertips. Turn your right foot to face the long edge of the mat. You're going to draw that big rainbow with your right arm. And as you get up to kind of the perpendicular point with your arm to the floor, that's when you push off of the block or off of the floor with your left hand and you lift yourself up. Warrior two. Sinking into your front knee. And just like at the beginning, you kind of find the texture of your mat underneath your feet. You ground down. You think about the floor supporting you underneath that and the earth supporting you underneath that, so you feel really stable as you reach your arms out parallel to the earth. And then you flip your left palm up. Inhale to reach a little bit forward. Exhale to reverse your warrior. Feel free to look up towards that left palm or down towards the floor, whatever feels comfortable for your neck, just as in the preliminary side bends. Inhale to come back to the center line, arms parallel to the earth. As you exhale, moving towards straightness with that left leg. Take your hips a little to the back of the mat, reach your left fingertips again forward on the inhale. On the exhale, you fold. And imagine you're folding from the crease of your hip. You're not folding in your torso. Your spine stays straight as you fold. So it's a hinge kind of movement. And you can release your hand anywhere on the leg or on a block. I just moved my block in, so I have even a little bit more support. My block is actually now behind my ankle on the outside of my foot. Could also be on the inside if that's more comfortable for your shoulder. And you keep elongating your spine as you reach. Now it's your right fingertips up to the sky. Feel free to let this top hip come a little bit forward if that feels more comfortable. You can even turn that back foot so it angles a little bit in here in your triangle. See what feels right to you. We'll spend a few more breaths here, opening things up. Inhale up here. Then exhale, you're just going to fold down with that right hand, rotating to turn the right foot to face straight forward and back. Again, framing the left foot with the hand. You're going to step back, and again, you could step straight back underneath your body, or you could wiggle your left foot to the outside of your left hand and step back from there. I've stepped back with knees up this time, but you could step back with the knees down. Either way, the knees now come to the floor. You untuck the toes and you pull back through that child's pose. Let your hips be heavy towards your heels for a full breath. And now, your fingertips are as far out in front of you as they can get in child's pose. Your elbows want to relax. So you reach your fingertips out, and then you might have to adjust because you reach your fingertips so far that your elbows have lifted. You want to drop your elbows a little bit back down. From there, same movement as coming through that child's pose. You're going to scoop, 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 scoop forward, but this time as you lift your elbows, you're going to keep coming forward. It's going to be really difficult. Your butt's going to be in the air, and you're going to look like a total moron. And then you're just going to keep sliding, 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 sliding forward. Lift your chest. This works better if your hands are back behind your shoulders. You're going to think you want to move your hands forward, but you don't. You want them to be far back. Push into your hands, lift up, and scoop back, and we'll try it again. We're just going to do the forward motion of this one today. So you're in your child's pose. You reach your hands forward. You relax your elbows. And then you scoop forward. And instead of lifting all the way up into the cow pose, you just keep going. You stay low. Your elbows start to lift, and your chest is really low. It's like you're skimming along a wave. And then you lift up. Exhale down. Come back to child's pose in the way that suits you best. We'll try one more. Don't worry if it feels extremely awkward. Usually the first couple hundred times you do this, it feels like excruciatingly terrible. And then eventually it clicks. When you're ready, elbows are relaxed. You scoop, 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 scoop forward. You lift up. Your belly comes down. Your chest lifts. Squeeze your elbows in. Cobra. Now exhale, release all the way down. Bring your hands in front of you. Create a cushion for your head. And wiggle your hips a little side to side. Loosen them up. From here, let your forehead rest to the floor. Take your arms behind you. Potentially interlace your fingers, or maybe hold on to that strap if you happen to have one. Roll your shoulders back. Lift the center of your chest. Press the tops of your feet down. Keep reaching your hands back as you come into this half locust. And this is really more about the shoulder stretch than anything, so you're just reaching back. Lift the pit of your belly. Let's take another deep breath or two here. Keep pressing your feet down. And then release. Rest your head to one side. Release your arms, maybe wiggle your hips. From here, you're going to catch your foot behind you. If you'd like to use your strap to loop over your right foot, please loop your strap over the foot and then draw the strap over the shoulder. You can do that with a literal loop. I have a little loop at my strap, or just hooking your strap over like so. Or you can just hold onto your foot, should that be possible for you. You can rest your forehead on your left hand or on the floor, or look to the side, doesn't matter. Pull your foot towards you as you press the top of your hip to the mat, finding a stretch at the front of your thigh. Working into the quadriceps a little bit. You want to keep the right shoulder relaxed. Keep pressing the right hip towards the mat as you draw the foot towards the bum. All right. When you're ready, go ahead and release. And we'll switch sides. Feel free to use the strap or your hand, whatever works best for you. You're going to grab the left foot. Draw it towards you. Find the stretch. Press the front of the left hip down to the mat. Keep the shoulders relaxed. You're going to feel your quadriceps, the muscles of the front of your thigh, elongating. All right, you're going to release. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Scoop yourself back to your table pose. We're going to come into a shoulder stretch next, into a puppy pose. So set your hips above your knees and then begin to crawl your arms forward. Forehead could rest to the floor or to a block as you press the palms of the hands into the mat. Again, soften your chest. It's like the beginning of that little snaky cow or cobra pose. But you're just going to stay here, pressing all 10 fingertips down. Feel the stretch. Puppy. Feel free to tuck your toes under. Should that feel nice, and press back through the arches of your feet. Some people even like to turn their gaze forward and put their chin on the floor like a little puppy. I always find that's a little crunchy for my neck. But that's just my neck. Your neck might think it feels lovely. Let's take another breath or two here. Then we're going to attempt to slide out of this kind of like that snaky cobra. So your arms are kind of far out in front of you. Your palms are on the floor. Your hips are really lifted, so you're going to come forward. Keep your elbows glued as down as you can as you lower the chest down, lifting up. Maybe your forearms even stay glued to the floor for a little bit of a sphinx. As you inhale, press your feet down. As you exhale, release. Slide your hands back under your shoulders so you can use that to press yourself up. Pull back, child's pose. Press your fingertips down, lift up. We're coming through one last downward facing dog. Spread your fingers nice and wide, tuck your toes under, lift your knees. Spend a few breaths, enjoy this pose. Downward facing dog can be quite challenging. Number one, you're upside down, so all the blood goes right to your head, and you feel a little awkward there. But it is requiring a lot of mobility in your shoulders, in your hips, in your hamstrings to get into this upside down V shape. In fact, the right side up V shape is even harder. That'll be our boat pose. Now, this V shape is challenging for our bodies. When you're ready, you're slowly going to walk your feet forward. Come up towards the front of your mat. Maybe grab a block and put it in front of you as you take your feet a little wider, toes out, heels in. We are coming through one last squat. Bending the knees, hands on the thighs. You can come a little deeper, hands on the floor. I like to walk my hands out in front of me, what I call spider squat. As I stick my butt in front of me, I walk my hands forward. This is one of my favorite variations. Or you can come all the way down to your garland, your Malasana squat, hips between the heels. Just wherever you feel some nice stretchy action in your outer hips and your lower back. Find the one that works for you. To be honest, I'm too lazy to go back to spider, so I'm just staying here in garland. Take a few breaths. If you're really low and you are feeling comfortable, you can simply sit back. If you're up a little higher, you might choose to kind of straighten your legs a little bit and bring yourself to seated. And you're going to come all the way down to the floor here, sitting in the middle of your mat. Stretch your legs in front of you. Draw your right knee in. Feel free, if your back feels a little tender, to sit up onto a blanket. And then what you're going to do here is cross your right foot a little bit over to the side. You can catch the outside of your right foot, or you can draw in a little bit and place the foot into the crease of your elbow, rocking your baby. Just take a few breaths here. You can move forward and back. You can always place your left foot on the floor here for a little bit of support, even placing your right leg on your left. A little bit of even extra support. And then from here, you're going to take that right foot you've been holding onto and set it on the outside of the left leg. Open your arms up. Make sure you're facing straight forward to start off with. Flex your left toes up to the sky. Inhale. Exhale, twist to your right, wrapping around. You can hug your right knee or take your arm onto the outside. Depends what feels good to you. Spend a few breaths. If you'd like, you could go back to what we were doing at the beginning of class and open your right arm all the way behind you. Palm faces towards the outside edge of the mat. Inhale back towards the center line. Unwind. Relax the shoulders. Unwind and stretch the right leg in front of you. Bring the left foot in. Again, you're holding a rocking baby. You can hold the foot or the ankle here a little bit further in front of you. If your hips are on the tighter side, that might be as far in as it's possible to get. If you draw this right knee in, you can always set the foot here, or you can hook the foot and the knee into the elbow creases. See what works for you. It's like a seated little pigeon variation. Just hanging out here for a few breaths. Getting a little openness in the hip before we come into our twist. All right, and then you're going to take your left foot to the outside of your right knee. Just make sure you're sitting up nice and tall here as you inhale. As you exhale, twist over to your left, hugging or lacing the arm. Flexing those right toes towards the ceiling. Again, if you want, you can extend your left arm, thinking about parallel to the long edge of your mat as you're kind of going towards point. Your horizon, as it were. And looking in that direction. You may reach it today, you may not. Inhale, come back to the center. Unwind. Get those legs a little shake. I'm going to take a really gentle baby camel pose. You can take this with your legs in front of you. I like to cross my legs. You can do that as well if you prefer. Walk your hands behind you. Angle the wrists in the way that feels good. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Lift the center of your chest. Opening everything up. You can let your head lean a little back if you'd like. Release from the pit of your belly, rolling up. Walk your hands forward. Wiggle out your wrists a little bit. Stretch your legs in front of you. Come all the way down to the floor. As you come down to the mat, get comfortable here. Draw the soles of your feet in so your knees are pointing up to the ceiling. We're going to go back to that pigeony shape here for a moment. Crossing your right ankle over the top of your left knee. Let your right knee relax. You can stay here. Or draw the left knee towards you. Catching behind the left knee. If you need a little more, you can always bring your right knee closer to your groin in this position, and that gets a little more traction here on the outer hip. Maybe rocking gently. Going into one last twist. Release your left foot to the floor if you lifted it up, and then you're going to take your right foot. You can see that I'm going to run out of space. You're going to take your right foot over to the floor on the outside of your left knee. So you create this kind of weird triangle shape. And this twist works for some people. It does not work for everyone. So if you get over here and there's just a lot of pull on the outside of your leg, or there's discomfort in your inner hip or your kneecap, feel free to skip this variation. You might prefer to slide your thighs together and take an eagle, or simply to stack your knees. See what works for you. Spend a few breaths in the twist. This is one of those Seussian ones where some days, on some sides, this works for my body. And some days, on some sides, this does not work at all for my body. To day it works here on the right. We'll see how it goes on the left. When you're ready, come back in. Hug that right knee towards your chest. Gently bring it in. Feel the compression and the kind of space created in your lower back as you draw the knee in. And then let go, foot to the floor. Left knee comes in and you cross the left ankle over the top of the right. You can stay there, or you can draw the right knee towards you. In either place, feel free to move. If you need more, again, bring the left foot, so the crossover foot, closer towards the groin, can access a deeper stretch, can take you more into that outer left hip for those of you with a lot of hip flexibility. No, outer hip flexibility specifically. Let's take another breath. And a little release into our final side of twisting. Right foot to the floor. Take your arms to the sides. And then the left foot might come to the outside on the right of the mat. You might stay there. This feels pretty good to me today, or you might cross the legs up or stack the knees. Do what feels good to your body. This gentle style flow is all about taking the time to explore what does feel good for our bodies. Practicing in a way that does feel gentle and kind and generous to where our bodies are right now. That doesn't mean we can't go deep. It doesn't mean we're not going to experience a lot of sensation. It just means we're doing so in a really mindful way. These are often the classes that I feel the most, like I really feel the difference in my body after all of this deep, stretchy stuff. When you're ready, bring the knees back to the center. You'll want to hug the left knee into the chest for a moment. Feel the low back relax. And that might be enough. You might be ready to extend your legs. You might want a little more softness in your back. You might draw both of your knees into your chest for a few moments. If there's anything else that you need, you're more than welcome to add it in. And we're making our way now towards Srivasana, extending the legs, extending the arms. As you come to that Srivasana again, going to find our breath. Find how it moves in your body. Your rib cage expands, your shoulders press down, your diaphragm moves up and down. Feel your breath moving throughout your body. please stay here for as long as you are able. When it is time to return to your day, you can make your way over to one side. Rest there for a breath or two before making your way to a seated position. Bring your hands to your heart and close with a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, beginning on 3. 1, 2,